We all know that too much of anything can be a bad thing. Too much sun, you get burnt. Too much food, you get sick. Too much stress, you get burnt out. Stress has a lot of negative impacts on our bodies and on our mind. Too much stress can manifest in mental health problems as well as physical and medical risk. However, what if I told you that there is actually a healthy stress? Let's talk about what that means. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm Michael, and I'm keeping everything simple in life and business. No one is a stranger to stress in their life. You can have stress coming from work. You can have stress coming from school, stress from friends, family, relationships, even stress with yourself. And as I mentioned earlier, stress can have a lot of negative effects on your body and on your mental health. Mentally, too much stress can lead to fatigue, concentration problems, depression, shortened tempers, and just feeling overwhelmed. Physically, too much stress and unhealthy management of it can lead to high blood pressure. It can lead to substance reliance, deterioration of personal relationships, and a lower quality of life. Stress is no joke when it goes unaddressed. And for anyone who says that kids, teens, Gen Z have nothing to stress about or we shouldn't be this stressed, well, pardon us for existing. Life is stressful and we all know it. If you're in school, moving from one grade to the next can be super stressful. Those who are graduating high school or college, moving on to the next phase of your life is super stressful, and not to mention can cause you a lot of anxiety. Those who are entering the workforce or already in the workforce, you face stress pretty much on a daily basis, both in requirements and expectations, as well as stability and prospects for the future. Stress permeates every aspect of all of our lives. And yet, with all these negative effects, you may ask,
well, Michael, in what world could stress be healthy? With all those negative impacts you just mentioned, there's no way there can be a healthy stress.
Well, I'm so glad you asked. Allow me to introduce you to the idea of Eustress. That sounds like a really weird business product pitch. According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, Eustress is defined as a positive form of stress having a beneficial effect on health, motivation, performance, and emotional well-being. And again, you may be asking,
how can that be? You just said stress had a negative impact on all those things earlier.
And this is true, but this is also where the idea of, again, too much of anything is a bad thing comes into play. I mean, for one, I need water to survive. However, if I have too much of it, it's not gonna go well. I need some vitamin D from the sun, but too much, I'm gonna get burnt. But if I wear sunscreen, I might just get more tan. Don't really know on that one. Point being, there is a level in which stress can actually be healthy. It can be used to motivate, inspire, and better ourselves as individuals. This graph shows the levels in which stress can manifest itself. Too little stress, there is too little motivation or urgency. Too much stress, and you end up with distress, overwhelmed, anxious, lower concentration, and higher risk of injury or drain. Yet right in the middle, there's a sweet spot. Eustress. You're motivated, focused, engaged, and work feels more effortless and fulfilling. I used to be an athlete in high school, and around competition time, I was always stressed and nervous. However, I knew it was Eustress. I was nervous, but focused. I was stressed about bringing out my best to compete with others, but also to beat my former PRs. Then going off to university, I was fortunate enough to graduate 2 years early thanks to the Washington State Running Start program. And let me tell you, I was stressed for those 2 years. However, the key was it wasn't constant. Tests, projects, presentations, speaking, the stress came and went. And when it came, it helped me be focused, motivated, and inspired to do what I needed to do to achieve the goals I wanted. And eustress also takes different forms. Traveling can result in a form of eustress. There's the anticipation, the anxiety about traveling, but then also the chance to have new experiences, to broaden your perspective and see new things. For those of you who work out, you also experience eustress, pushing yourself to improve, focusing on what you want to do in the middle of your workout, and putting your body under stress for the sake of improvement and change. Now, one of the biggest differences here is how we perceive eustress versus distress. It's all in perception. That's what makes it such a foundational piece, but also so fundamentally different than distress. It's that idea of moving from obligation to opportunity. Between distress and eustress, it feels the same, but how you perceive it is different. Your thoughts can be racing a mile a minute. Your heartbeat can be going so fast. You can feel nervous. Under distress, these feelings are overwhelming. They can be riddled with anxiety. But under eustress, it's anticipation. You feel energized and ready to tackle the situation, the event, and the problem at hand. That is how the difference in perception impacts how you perceive eustress and distress. And this is important because, as I mentioned earlier, stress permeates everyone's life in some way or another. And these are ways that you personally can change your level of stress and change your perception of it so you can benefit more from eustress than anything. As I mentioned earlier, it really is a matter of perspective. Those stressful scenarios of life events can become times of eustress if you learn to adjust to them. Moving from one grade to the next is always scary, but then there can be anticipation for the new classes you're going to get to have, the new experiences you're going to get to see, and the new opportunities that are going to be presented to you. Graduating high school and going to college, terrifying. But how exciting is it that you get to go off and have a fresh start, to get to go study and find what you want to do, as well as find others who have the passion and interest similar to yours. And then graduating college and going into the workforce or already being in the workforce. It can cause anxiety, but also is the threshold to so many new opportunities and so many new chances. Finding a job you like, finding a community that you enjoy being a part of, and trying new things as you discover your career or travel down your career of choice. Now, I'm just a guy on YouTube, and so for that, I strongly recommend that you talk to a licensed professional if you are suffering from stress or anxiety. These are my thoughts and tips on way to train your mind to focus and grow and change with eustress. A reminder that I cannot stress enough, eustress is still stress. Too intense of an experience as well as too prolonged of experience within eustress can still yield those negative impacts that we talked about earlier. And even with all that, these are still tips that I stand behind as things that can really help you learn how to channel your eustress so that way it becomes benefit to you. First, you can talk with those around you. America is very individualistic. That's a very common mindset that you'll find here in the United States. However, it's not always necessary. You can share your thoughts, share your worries, and share your stress. Talk to those who have more experience, but are those that you also trust, or even those who are going along the same path with you. Community is a powerful resource in combating stress as well as alleviating the pressures that you may feel from situations or even finding new solutions so that way the situation is no longer distressful but becomes a place for you to feel motivated and inspired. You can also focus on what you can control and adjust it as needed. There is a difference in the experience of stress when the stress is seen as an opportunity and a challenge rather than as a threat and an obligation. If I was going to get into the ring with a friend, I'd see that as more of a challenge. But if I was going to get into the ring with a 2-time world boxing champion, I'd see that as a threat. That's why it's so important to control what you can control. Like in that instance, I can control how fast I was going to run away. Another step that I mentioned earlier is a change in mindset and a change in perception. Staying positive takes work, but it's a skill that you can develop. Just as looking at situations in a positive light and as opportunities is also a skill that you can develop. Going from I have to go home and make dinner to I get to go home and I get to make dinner now. Or I have to do this project to I get to do this project with my favorite coworker, my favorite classmate. It's a compound effect of taking a situation and taking a moment and saying, what is my opportunity here? So that way you're seeing the opportunity and the chance rather than the obligation and the stress. Then we have setting boundaries and realistic expectations. Unrealistic expectations cause distress as well as a lot of frustration. I can tell you that from experience. Have the conversation with those around you, your boss, your friends, your coworkers, your family. Set boundaries for what you can do as well as what can be done with resources that you have on hand. This is helping you speak to the reality as well as controlling what you can control. So once again, you do feel motivated, inspired, and empowered to take action. And finally, be mindful. I bet you didn't see that one coming. Taking a minute or even a brief moment to sit down, to reassess, and taking stock of how you're feeling in any given moment without subjecting yourself to judgment. This can add some great clarity into what the situation is in front of you, as well as steps that you can take moving forward. It's as simple as taking a minute, sitting down, focusing on what you're breathing, naming what is going through your mind, and then from there assessing what steps are you going to take, what opportunities are there presented, and how are you going to take advantage of that and move forward. As always, too much of anything is a bad thing. Stress is a great indicator of when you need to have a conversation. It's a great indicator to tell you when something is wrong, as well as when something needs to be adjusted. This will enable you to speak to the situation, speak to the reality, and speak to the expectations of what's going on, what you need to change, and what you need to do so you feel motivated, so you feel inspired, and so that you feel that you are performing at your absolute best. And so from there, all that's left is to take action. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video. I greatly appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't already. I post videos every Friday. Like this video if you enjoyed it or you found it helpful. Comment eustress down below if you're going to take one of the tips from above and implement it into your life and change your reality. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at KES Studios. I post there pretty much daily and I love getting a chance to interact with you guys. And keeping everything simple, I'll see you guys next time.